From cursed prodigies to god-tier shinobi, the Uchiha clan has always walked the fine line between brilliance and destruction, but today we're going to cross that line completely because in this video, I'm going to rank the strongest Uchiha from weakest to strongest at their absolute peaks. No excuses, no plot armor, just pure unfiltered power and a lot of broken hearts in the process. And before you start rushing to the comment section typing Itachi solos, Madara is built different, Sasuke is him, Sarada is him, take a moment to grab your chakra snacks and get ready because this is going to settle the ultimate Uchiha debate once and for all in today's newest edition of the strongest in Naruto over here on Naruto Explained. And if we hit 2,000 likes on this video within a week, I'll do a video ranking every single member of the clan, including all versions of the characters. So hit the like button, hit the hype button, and share this video. Starting things off at number 9, we have the former leader of the clan, Fugaku Uchiha. Before he died at the age of 40, Fugaku was a shinobi every bit worthy of his status as clan leader. But when you grow up in the same generation with the legendary Sannin, who are 5 years older than him, it's easy to get overlooked. But based on the information that we do know from the anime to the 2 Naruto prologue stories, Itachi Shinden's Story of Daylight and Itachi Shinden's Story of Midnight, there's quite a bit of information to use here. For starters, there's a reason why even someone like Danzo, who has relatively solid intel, referred to him as being a generational talent, albeit not on the level of the legendary Sannin. But when this was mentioned in the Itachi Shinden Story of Daylight, the third Hokage never refuted Danzo's claim. We learn in that same story that Fugaku, during his efforts in the second and the third Ninja Wars, was given the nickname Wicked Eye Fugaku, who would make others run at the sight of him due to his penchant for genjutsu, and there's a good reason for it. The 2 Itachi stories strongly allude to him secretly having the Mangekyo Sharingan, with him on the night of the Nine Tails attack preparing to head to the battlefield specifically to place the Nine Tails under genjutsu to stop the attack. That cannot be done unless the user already has a Mangekyo Sharingan unlocked, since the Mangekyo Sharingan beefs up even the standard Sharingan powers. But he was ordered to stay away from the Nine Tails, specifically by the elders, because they were worried he could indeed control the Nine Tails. In that same story, when referred to as being a generational talent, it was said that his combat skills are not too far behind the third Ninja War era legendary Sannin, or even third Ninja War version of Minato, which puts that guy in that Kage tier, albeit behind the aforementioned characters. This would be further proved in the Itachi Shinden Story of Daylight, where Shisui was worried that he couldn't take down Fugaku in a one-on-one battle, even if he used genjutsu. And in the Naruto Shippuden anime, in episode 455, after Itachi had already awakened Mangekyo Sharingan, even Itachi states that he isn't sure he can beat Fugaku in a one-on-one matchup, calling his father, quote, the worst possible matchup, end quote, which is insane given that the Uchiha Massacre version of Itachi was already extremely powerful, having already surpassed Kakashi before getting Mangekyo, and Uchiha Massacre Itachi is comparable to the version of Sasuke, who faced Itachi in volumes 42 and 43, based on the information that we can pull from. Notable skills that we know outside of genjutsu that Fugaku possessed are his shuriken jutsu, which were comparable to Itachi's skill in it, and he's able to use both the shadow clone jutsu as well. We don't know what his specific Mangekyo Sharingan genjutsu is, but we do know with this genjutsu, he's fully capable of bringing Itachi down to his knees, though you could argue Itachi might have been troubled by what Fugaku showed him. But given Itachi also calls him the worst possible matchup for him and is unsure if he can win in that same episode, you can argue the other case, which is that Fugaku was either as strong or slightly stronger than Uchiha Master Itachi. And that brings me to number 8, which is Shisui Uchiha. Now, I want to say this up front. These two are interchangeable, which I think You'll see pretty easily why I believe so as we go over Shisui's stats. Shisui was an extremely talented shinobi who, the Itachi Shingen story of Midnight reveals, awakened his Mangekyo while on a mission during the end of the Third Ninja War. He lost his best friend on that mission and blamed himself for not saving him when he had a chance. The fourth Naruto databook tells us that in his lifetime, Shisui mastered fire, wind, and lightning release, and his body flicker was his claim to fame, with the official Naruto website giving us a lot of new information on how he got that nickname. In the aftermath of the Third Ninja War, and after Minato's death, Shisui, he struck fear in the hearts of other nations, particularly in the time after the legendary Sannin left Konoha. His body flicker was so fast he could produce tangible after images, which speaks volumes to how fast he was moving, and capable of moving in and out of locations at such speed that even Sensory Ninja could not track his movements. And as we see in the anime, even a squad of elite ninjas, they fled the moment that they knew he was on the battlefield. In the Ninja Escapades OVA that Naruto series creator Masashi Kishimoto did the story for, even Anbu Itachi was unable to take Shisui down in battle, though the Itachi Shingen story of Midnight does reveal that Itachi was finally able to beat Shisui in a sparring match just a couple of days before Shisui would end up dying. In the Ninja Escapades OVA, Danzo outright calls Shisui the strongest member of the Uchiha clan, which is high praise given Danzo in character does not lie about a character's strength, which is in line with Itachi's own statement in the Itachi Shingen story of Midnight, where even after he awakened the Mangekyo, he wasn't sure if had Shisui been alive, that Itachi could have beaten Shisui in a full-blown fight, Mangekyo to Mangekyo, and that Shisui would have been able to physically stop him from carrying out the massacre, so no Kotomatsukami. Shisui, like Itachi, had a tendency to use crows to cut down on the amount of chakra used for things like substitution jutsu, and his fire release was strong enough that in the Ninja Escapades OVA, it took several Anbu Black Ops using water release to counter his use of the Uchiha clan's Great Fireball Jutsu, and in episode 454, we see that Kid Shisui was already able to fight off multiple Anbu Black Ops on his own. He was formidable enough that Danzo and Fugaku and the third Hokage, they thought highly of him. The third Hokage made him into a Jonin who answered directly to him. Fugaku outright planned to have Shisui be the core component of his plan to overthrow village leadership, particularly the battle with the third Hokage, and Danzo respected him enough that in the Itachi Shingen story of Midnight, it reveals that he had Shisui poisoned by an insect from the Aburame clan that was so small that a Mangekyo Sharingan can barely see it. The poison, as Danzo revealed, was untraceable to the naked eye, and it leaves the system quickly after it spreads. And by the time the person realizes they've been poisoned, their stats have already dropped and their body is in the process of shutting down, which is how Danzo easily took Shisui's eye, and why Shisui tells Itachi later on that he's gonna die anyway, which is why he gave him his Mangekyo Sharingan for safekeeping. In the Ninja Escapades OVA, we see that Shisui, like Madara, due to having awakened the Mangekyo in both eyes, Shisui is able to use Susanoo with only one eye, and his Susanoo's ability to shoot out chakra blasts at the Anbu, and like Itachi, he possessed an unnamed spiritual weapon. Shisui also most famously had the Kotomatsukami, which allowed him to outright take away free will, and based on what we can gather in the anime and the manga, Shisui had Genjutsu in both eyes. But there are two different variations of it, similar to how Kamui has two variations. One Kotomatsukami has short-term effect, which explains how so many people from Owl to Killer Bee to Danzo knew about that specific genjutsu, recognized it. The first two of them had seen it being used, and the other genjutsu is a permanent one that cannot be undone once programmed, and it can only be used once per decade. Next up, we move on to Izuna Uchiha at number 7. During his lifetime, Izuna was considered to be the second strongest Uchiha clan member, behind his brother Madara, obviously. In Naruto Volume 42, Itachi states that Izuna and Madara were relative to one another in power, but this is contradicted later on via Hashirama's flashback and by the 4th Naruto databook, which outright says that Izuna was equal to Tobirama in power, which is impressive given Tobirama was considered the fastest shinobi alive during that era. In Naruto Shippuden episode 368, we see Izuna's fire release is capable of canceling out water release jutsu despite the chakra disadvantage, and his sword skills are able to rival Tobirama's. However, as we all know, Tobirama would kill him with this flying Raijin slice. While we never see Izuna's Mangekyo Sharingan ability in any continuity of the story, it should be worth noting that Izuna did possess a Chokotomo Mangekyo Sharingan, which is a straight pattern Mangekyo, which on top of being rare, they also have extremely overpowered Mangekyo Sharingan abilities. Look no further than Sarada's Mangekyo Sharingan power for an example, which is also a Chokotomo Mangekyo Sharingan. So it does make you wonder what his Mangekyo Sharingan power could have been. At number 6, and for every Uchiha after this, the scaling is more concrete since we have more info and we don't have to rely solely on statements for some of these. So at number 6, we have Healthy Itachi. Now, Healthy Itachi is this version of Itachi in his prime without his illness, and despite what some will say, Healthy Itachi is not a myth like Prime Hiruzen, because we have concrete material to draw on, and based on his feats from when Itachi was sick and prolonging his life with medicines, the scaling lines up perfectly from an objective stance. Sick Itachi was literally scaled over the Orochimaru who battled the 3rd Hokage in Naruto Part 1, which Orochimaru literally says that Itachi was stronger than him in Naruto Chapter 140. This same Itachi was able to literally weave hand signs so fast that even Kakashi, who had over a decade to get used to the Sharingan and was stated to have mastered the Sharingan better than most Uchiha, even Kakashi was unable to track Itachi's hand seal speed. Even on his deathbed, while fighting Sasuke, this ended up being the case with Itachi weaving hand signs so fast, Sasuke didn't even realize Itachi had made hand signs for a shadow clone jutsu while they were fighting. This same sick Itachi in the Search for Tsunade arc easily made light work out of Kakashi, Kurenai, and Asuma, 3 elite Jonin. During this battle with Sasuke, who was in possession of the Curse Mark's 10 times multiplier and Orochimaru's chakra absorbed into his body, in spite of all of that, after Obito reviewed the fight footage that he came to the same conclusion that Zetsu did when Zetsu was watching the fight, which is Itachi should have been able to dodge Sasuke's attacks and that he purposely let Sasuke win. And this is backed up by the fact that he was purposely trying to exhaust Sasuke to draw Orochimaru out so that he could seal him away. And this is even more impressive when you realize that Itachi quite literally was seeing 3 versions of Itachi during this fight. In the Naruto Jinraiden story, Sasuke, even after he awakened the Mangekyo Sharingan, Sasuke flat out concedes that he is still weaker than sick Itachi, who he just fought, which now makes you look at Sasuke in the 5 Kage Summit and go, Jesus, Itachi would have given Danzo and the 4th Raikage absolute hell, which is impressive given that neither of these are pushover characters. Now, with the floor being set in terms of how strong sick Itachi was, we can now take all the extra info that we have to build out how strong healthy Itachi is. For starters, the 4th Naruto databook tells us Itachi mastered wind release, fire release, and water release. And in the manga, we saw him use both fire and water release. The 4th databook also tells us that Edo Itachi, which these Edo Tensei that Kabuto used, were brought back to near full power. However you want to define whether that be 90% or 98%, that is up to you. But Edo Itachi is outright stated to be equal to EMS Sasuke in power, and if you read the manga closely, the manga backs this up as well. For starters, we catch a glimpse of what a healthy Itachi can do when he clashes with KCM Naruto, where he's matching the speed and the blows of KCM Naruto, and he's holding a conversation with them. But for the down players out there, which I know there are, it's worth noting that not only was Itachi's body being controlled by Kabuto at that point in the fight to fight seriously, just not having his free will suppressed in terms of his personality being able to talk to Naruto, but him keeping pace with Naruto quite literally lines up with everything we know about Itachi. Speed so fast that the Sharingan can't track hand signs, and a guy who was doing full-on battles with Shisui when they were training each other, fighting at full power, meaning the guy would have had to battle Shisui when he's using body flicker for attacks. That lines up with this Itachi keeping pace with the same Naruto whose combat speed is over the Lightning Chakra Mode version 2 of the 4th Raikage, which also lines up with Mangekyo Sharingan Sasuke saying that sick Itachi was stronger than him, and 5 Kage Summit Sasuke fought relative to that same Raikage. You can even take the combat speed feat of a suppressed, non-bloodlusted Itachi to further add credence to this. In chapter 141, after he kicks Kurenai off of the bridge, he literally is able to use body flicker to move from across the bridge, across the water, and stand behind her before she even hits the water and stops sliding. In chapter 142, Kurenai calls the speed of a non-bloodlusted Itachi superhuman after he produced a shadow clone faster than even Kakashi's Sharingan could track. During the Uchiha massacre, Itachi was able to use this Mangekyo Sharingan 5 times, including 4 uses of Tsukiyomi according to the Itachi Shinin story of Daylight, which in 2 of them is outright confirmed what Kakashi suspected in Naruto Part 1, which is that had Itachi wanted to kill with Genjutsu, he could have, because Itachi killed 2 people with Genjutsu. For comparison, sick Itachi, if he used the Mangekyo Sharingan 3 times in a short time span, he needed several days to rest and recover, which shows how much of a drop-off that illness gave Itachi and how badly he washed that Jonin trio. It makes it that much more impressive. Later on in the war, we see Itachi was capable of blocking the Susanoo arm of a pissed-off Sasuke, an EMS pissed-off Sasuke, not once, but twice. The second time, he outright restrains him inside of Kabuto's cave. The same Itachi was capable of not only fighting a chakra-charged up Nagato, but also battle against Sage Mode Kabuto while protecting Sasuke multiple times in that fight. And the only reason Sage Mode Kabuto was landing killing blows on Itachi is Itachi shifted the fighting style to take advantage of Edo Tensei's regen abilities, and because he was specifically fighting to not kill Kabuto, because he needed Kabuto alive. As we saw when he fought against Nagato, Itachi is able to break down an opponent very quickly. I have no doubt he'd done the same thing to Kabuto. Now, this brings me to number 5, Obito Uchiha. Obito is hands down one of the most broken characters on this list, and his growth from dunce of the Uchiha clan to top 5 in the history of the clan is one of the biggest success stories in the series. Due to possessing both the Rinnegan and later 6-path Senjutsu, Obito has all 5 changes in chakra nature, which makes him insanely diverse in combat. In Taijutsu, he was able to hold the upper hand on Kakashi, someone considered to be a Taijutsu master capable of rivaling Might Guy, and Obito's skill level was so insane that when he claimed himself to be Madara Uchiha, people didn't even doubt whether or not it was true, including people that had interactions with Madara. And that makes sense and speaks volumes that he grew that skilled he could pass off as a bootleg Madara. Given the fact that Madara quite literally trained the guy, it makes complete sense. It should also be worth noting that Obito in that Taijutsu fight with Kakashi was pulling an Itachi versus Sasuke, purposely mapping out how the fight would go so he could get the desired outcome, meaning he could have ended the fight sooner had he wanted to. Obito in the war was able to fight off 4 Kage level shinobi on his own, and these are high Kage level shinobi at that, and low-key hold the upper hand, with 4 of these being Naruto using the Nine Tails power, Might Guy using the Inner Gates, Kakashi using Mangekyo Sharingan, and Killer Bee as a perfect Jinchuriki fighting in a transformed state. As a 10 Tails Jinchuriki, his power grew to the point he even surpassed Hashirama in power, to the point Hashirama doesn't even hesitate. He goes, yeah, that guy, he's stronger than me. And he proceeded to take down 3 of the strongest Hokage to ever live in battle. Had they not been Edo Tensei, they would have been dead. Due to having a body of Hashirama cells, Obito also gets a boost in power, but it should be worth noting he does say using just 1 Rinnegan nearly drove him insane when he talked to Sakura because of the overwhelming chakra of the Rinnegan being too much for him. However, due to being trained by Madara, he knows how to use wood release in an efficient manner and knows multiple combat fighting styles with a variety of different weapons, including that Uchiha fan that belonged to Madara, the same fan that can reflect back ninjutsu-based attacks. When he got both of his Sharingan back, it should be worth noting that Obito did possess a portion of 6 Paths Chakra. But with the additive of having both Mangekyo, I would argue he's more dangerous than he was as a 10 Tails Jinchuriki due to the hacks of Kamui, which we saw when Kakashi had both of those in his possession. The time at which it takes to use both long-range and short-range Kamui is sped up noticeably, which is consistent with what we saw earlier in the war when Kakashi and Obito both used Kamui to do the teleportation. This means the same stuff you saw Kakashi do with the perfect Susanoo, which was made possible despite not having an Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan directly because of 6 Paths Chakra. Obito theoretically can do the same, so apply Kamui to the Susanoo's Chakra Shuriken and things like that. This is on top of Obito being a skilled Genjutsu master, capable of not only controlling the 9 tails, but also able to place multiple tail beasts under his Genjutsu like we saw in the war when he combined the Outer Paths Chakra Rods, but also when he forcibly controlled Yagura, one of the few Jinchuriki in history who had complete control of their Biju, which should have been impossible, but that speaks volumes to how overpowered Madara's training of Obito was. Sadly, we don't get to see fully what healthy DMS Obito could do, mostly because in Naruto Volume 71, when Naruto heals Obito, Naruto, if you read the manga, stops short of saying he couldn't fully save Obito, and he cuts himself off, and Obito cuts him off by saying, I know, implying Naruto was not able to reverse the Rinnegan's Rinne Rebirth Jutsu killing him. The only thing Naruto could do was basically what Zetsu did when Zetsu kept Obito alive when they were attached. Naruto's seal just bought Obito time, which I would argue kept Obito from being able to operate at full power, hence not being able to go into Kaguya's time space forcibly on his own, needing to first piggyback into Kaguya's time space by timing it when she used her dimensional portal, and then having to take the full chakra and Sakura's Byakugo seal, which is confirmed over 1/3 of 6 Paths Chakra Mode Naruto's chakra levels. While it's easy to say this hypothetical healthy Obito would be as strong as DMS Kakashi, I would argue he'd be even stronger since a healthy Obito is arguably stronger than Kakashi. The only reason I'm not using a healthy DMS Obito, whereas I did use a healthy Itachi, is that Edo Itachi was close enough to Itachi's full power that we could gain an actual understanding, whereas with this Obito, we don't have enough info given the condition that he was in. So at number 4, we have Indra, the ancestor and the founder of the Uchiha clan. For this Indra, this will be pretty short because there isn't a ton of information on the character. A lot of what we know is directly from anime filler. So things like him using lightning and fire release in the anime, they're anime only, and they never happened in the manga. The only thing that we do know that did come from the manga was that he had the Mangekyo Sharingan, and he had a perfect Susanoo capable of stalemating Ashura's chakra avatar. If we take the anime into account, which we're going to have to, he was extremely powerful, having inherited the massive chakra reserves of his father and had sensory abilities given he could sense Zetsu was watching him from the shadows. Indra's skill in ninjutsu in the anime, it left even his own father Hagoromo speechless at times, which says a lot given Hagoromo literally battled his mother. So for him to say that something caught him by surprise, that's high praise. in the anime, we did see one of his Mangekyo Sharingan powers, his version of Amaterasu, but we don't know anything else about it. I almost didn't want to put him here, but because there's so little information and based on what I've seen, I do feel like it's fair to put him one tier above Dying Body 2 Sharingan Obito, who only had a small bit of 6-pass chakra. But if you want to interchange these two, you can feel free to do so. I won't argue it. Now, the top three, it's going to get controversial, but I stand by everything said here. So at number 3, we have Three-Eyed Madara. Three-Eyed Madara was an absolute beast. When you look up motion in the dictionary, you get this Madara. And while we don't see much from this Madara, given that he was relative to the early versions of Naruto and Sasuke who awakened 6-pass Sage Mode and 6-pass Power and the 6-pass Seal when it comes to Naruto and the Rinnegan and 6-pass Seal when it comes to Sasuke, there's enough here that you can use the feats from those versions to scale Madara. But given Madara was implying that he was going to fight with the intention to take down Naruto specifically, you can argue that Madara might have been relative to Naruto in power, but we can't say with absolute certainty, particularly since both Naruto and Sasuke in the Kaguya fight, especially Naruto, showed off way better feats than they did against Madara, where Naruto at one point is able to rip Kaguya's arm clean off, albeit that was Naruto with a massive rage amp. Three-Eyed Madara scales below Kaguya pretty handedly to the point when Kaguya's chakra began to flood him, his body nearly exploded and likely would have exploded had he not possessed the regen abilities of being a Ten-Tailed Jinchuriki. In fact, before Kaguya ever fully emerged from Madara's body, Naruto and Sasuke, both from just measuring the chakra levels, directly outright stated that Kaguya was a lot stronger than the Madara they just fought, to the point Sasuke outright says someone this powerful should not exist. In spite of Sasuke having literally just been in the presence of the Sage of 6-pass, who was in full possession of both halves of his chakra since he hadn't given it away yet, and he had 6-pass Senjutsu, which is a big deal. Speaking of the Sage of 6-pass, before he gave his chakra one half to each Naruto and Sasuke, he outright tells us that one Rinnegan Jubi Madara was beginning to approach his level of power. And in the time after, this Madara would go on to get more power-ups by getting a second Rinnegan and absorbing the God Tree, and then getting that third eye, the Rinne Sharingan, which, depending on the translation you get from the 4th Naruto databook, it says that Madara was able to bring forth the full power of the Sage of 6-pass at that point when he was the 2 Rinnegan Jubi Madara, and that lines up with Hagoromo's prior statements that one Rinnegan Madara was beginning to catch him and that Kaguya was stronger than the Hagoromo, who, when he spoke of Kaguya, he said that Mother was, quote, rivaled by none other. At number 2, we have adult Sasuke. Now, contrary to popular belief, adult Sasuke is stronger than he was at age 17. This is quite literally evident by the fact that on top of battling beings like Momoshiki and Kenshiki, who in multiple source materials are stated to be stronger than Kaguya from Kishimoto's script for the Boruto movie and the movie novel, based off of the script that these two were a duo that not even Kaguya could face alone, to the manga revealing to us that Kaguya was so spooked that even after eating the chakra fruit, Kaguya was scared that the duo were coming to kill her. There's zero mention of the clan in the manga. She only writes down a pair of invaders are coming to kill her, and she writes them down by name because Sasuke in the manga only hears Momoshiki state Kenshiki's name. He never hears Momoshiki's name, yet he knows both of their names later on in the manga, and even states earlier after reading the scroll that his suspicions, they were correct, which is a reference to Naruto Gaiden, where he warns of beings that are stronger than Kaguya existing. On top of Sasuke being capable of battling beings like that, he quite literally uses more chakra exhausting jutsu than he ever did at age 17. For instance, opening those portals into Otsutsuki dimensions, we know from Obito require an enormous amount of chakra just to open the portals because it's not your space-time domain, and we have a quantified number for the amount of chakra needed to open the portals. because when Naruto offered to use his 6-pass chakra mode shadow clone, which had the buff of Hagoromo half of his chakra, Naruto was only using 2 shadow clones at that time when he offered Obito the clone, and Obito says that's not enough. Shadow clones split your chakra evenly, which means not even 1/3 of that version of Naruto's chakra was enough to open the portal. Despite this, Sasuke is able to not only open up the portals into these dimensions as an adult, which is a sign of massively increased chakra levels, but he's able to carry out a full-blown combat while in those dimensions, while having to actively monitor his chakra levels to be certain that he can open up another portal to travel in case he needs to escape, like he did against Kinshiki or after the battle. This Sasuke is able to use a version of the lightning release similar to the Raikage to amp up his speed, like we saw when he battled Kinshiki, and in the Boruto movie and anime, he uses lightning release to match the speed of Naruto, who at that point had half of his chakra ripped out. When they battled Fused Momoshiki in the manga, the battle is more one-sided than the Boruto movie version, and especially the Boruto anime version, where that fight is a lot more even, which is another sign of Sasuke's growth. In the Boruto movie novel, though, from Momoshiki's own monologue, we do know that Momoshiki believed that against either Naruto and Sasuke, in a 1-on-1, he was directly equal to them, but it's worth noting that Sasuke, going into this fight, literally just used a ton of chakra to open that portal to the dimension and stated that he was near his max for the number of people he can transport, which implies more people requires more chakra, which the manga version of the story makes that irrelevant given how easily Naruto and Sasuke bullied Fused Momoshiki. Another sign of how much he's grown in power is that Sasuke quite literally uses a Meneteji Kara, that Rinnegan teleportation jutsu he has, more in battle than he did at age 17 after having used more chakra exhausting jutsu before the fight, in particular the dimension travel, and literally uses Chidori in battle as well as amping up his speed with lightning release, which we see again in the battle with Jigen in the anime. Despite this, he also spams the Meneteji Kara more times in one fight than he did in Naruto volume 70, 71, and 72, despite Sasuke, by his words, having mastered those abilities. Each time, he had to close his eyes to recharge his Rinnegan before continuing to fight. The only real issue we have with Sasuke is that outside of being plagued by those ignorant "I'm out of chakra" memes that completely ignore the context that his chakra was ripped out by Urashiki, video I did why Sasuke is always out of chakra will be linked in the description box, but he also suffers from the fact that outside of the battle with Kinshiki, he was forced to battle people like Jigen, who was a complete counter to every jutsu in his arsenal, and powerful enough that once he transformed into full power, Jigen's combat speed was fast enough that he could react to Sasuke's instantaneous teleportation of a Meneteji Kara, and he was physically strong enough that 2, as in 1 + 1 = 2 hits in the manga left Sasuke physically unable to stand back up and coughing blood near death, including one kick that's strong enough to destroy Sasuke's perfect Susanoo, which for reference, Kaguya vacuum seal punch. It needed 8 hits to do that, and her hair needle attack needed multiple hits, and 3 hits left 6-pass adult Naruto unable to stand up, and he would then go on to battle Ishiki, who quickly in the manga beats Sasuke unconscious after he gets annoyed that he tried to stop him from capturing Boruto early in the fight. I'm not going to go over why Jigen won and all the counter arguments because I literally went through every single jutsu that Naruto and Sasuke possess, explain how Jigen hard counters it. That video will be linked in the description box. But it should be worth noting that after he lost his Rinnegan, that one-eye EMS Sasuke, who was quite literally so fatigued that before he even lost the Rinnegan, he couldn't even keep his Sharingan cut on in the manga due to all the damage he took. By the time one-eyed Sasuke fights Momoshiki in the manga, he has Momoshiki on the defensive, and the anime in episode 220 confirms what the manga implied. One-eyed EMS Sasuke could have killed Momoshiki had Sasuke not frozen up when he saw that Momoshiki was controlling Boruto, which that just further upscales Rinnegan Sasuke. Now at number 1, we have 15-year-old Sarada and Boruto 2 Blue Vortex. There's a lot to go over here, especially since I'm going to operate under the assumption that if you're watching this video you're a Naruto fan, you haven't read Boruto's manga, and the only thing you know comes from out of context clips or stuff that is pushed on social media. But basically, you heard me right, the scaling's extremely linear, especially when you accept the fact that Sarada and Boruto Naruto Next Generations was a lot stronger than people give credit for when you take the totality of what was shown, which I'm just going to say my video, How Strong is Teen Sarada, gives you a complete scaling that includes where Part 1 Sarada stacks up against Naruto characters, and that will be linked at the end of this video. So, why is Teen Sarada above Adult Rinnegan Sasuke? Sounds blasphemous. Well, it's actually quite simple. She's quite literally stronger than Sasuke. Let's just look at facts. These Three-Tomo Sarada was capable of, despite being off guard, react to the point-blank range Chidori of Hidari, dodge the attack, weave hand signs, and land her own Chidori with what should have been a fatal damage to Hidari had he not been in possession of regen. Hidari not having the Sharingan is irrelevant to the speed and the power of the attack, because the only thing you need the Sharingan for is to overcome the tunnel vision, which is directly caused by the speed of the thrusting jab that the Chidori requires in any variation of it that you're using. Because if you don't have Sharingan, you cannot react to counterattacks. This is shown when Minato saves Kakashi in Naruto Volume 27, and when Naruto uppercuts Sasuke in their final battle in Naruto Volume 72. Hidari, for reference, is made up of the chakra from One-Eye EMS Sasuke, who spent an entire year training with Boruto, chakra from the Ten Tails, chakra from Code, a being who is stronger than the Jigen who Naruto and Sasuke fought in episode 204, and has further enhancements via Shibai cells that Code possess, and the essence from Ishiki's Karma Seal. This same Hidari was capable of countering the Rasengan by a desperate Boruto, who is also stronger than Code, who is stronger than Jigen but weaker than Ishiki. Boruto, by this point, he is panicking when fighting because he has multiple beings he's fighting above Jigen in battle. He can't afford to be captured. That Rasengan was formed with the intention of survival, yet despite this, Hidari's Chidori counters Boruto's Rasengan, which results in a giant explosion, and this is more impressive when you consider the Rasengan by default is stronger than Chidori. Sarada not only had the combat speed to react, dodge, and counter, but she was also shown physically strong enough. Boruto not only trusted her in the battle with Hidari and all the other Shinji on the battlefield to fight them by herself, but to buy time so he could activate the Rasengan Uzuhiko, but she was able to damage and on-guard Hidari again, this time when her Chidori stream was used, which did enough damage to force Hidari to exasperate in pain and release Sarada, and she was capable of physically hurling him into Boruto's attack. Later on, when she battles Ryu, another awakened Shinju, her Chidori speed blitz and attack is strong enough that Ryu is actively trying to avoid a direct hit by the attack, breaking up his body via Iron Sand to avoid getting a full-on hit because the AP is that high that it can do damage to him, which is why Sarada and Mitsuki were frustrated that their attacks were too shallow and cannot fully connect. This matters because Ryu quite literally made a fool out of Code without limiters. Code saw Ryu's Iron Sand coming. He has an explanation point drawn showing that he knew what was about to happen. He's looking right at it, and when Ryu placed him in a chokehold, Code, despite actively trying to break the chokehold, is physically unable to do so, to the point he's asking to be let go of, and Jura, a being who in character does not lie about the capabilities of others, flat out confirms Ryu can kill Code easily by stating he has his permission the next time he sees him. In spite of Ryu being this strong, when Sarada uses her Mangekyo Sharingan Jutsu Ohirume, she easily kills Ryu by forcing his entire body to detonate, leaving no trace of him behind, which this jutsu can also control gravity of a target at Sarada's discretion, and she can use the spears she creates to manipulate her own gravity to reach combat flight speeds that are Otsutsuki level. Which, to learn more in depth about the power of Teen Sarada, you can click here on the left for that video that I mentioned, or you can click here for more videos from the Strongest in Naruto playlist.